Today we're going to be dehydrating rhubarb, and I've got a helper with me today. Welcome to Urban Prepping with Pam.
She's Pam.
Okay, as you can see, I have my helper here with me. This is my grandson, Jace. And today's a special day. What day is today, Jace?
My birthday.
It's his birthday. How old are you?
7.
7. So he wanted to help me on my video with dehydrating rhubarb, and so that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'm going to show Jace how to cut the rhubarb. Now, we are going to dehydrate. Dehydrating is the best way that I know of to preserve rhubarb, because if you try to can it, it turns into mush. So I dehydrate my rhubarb because we have plenty of it. And I'd like to say, I don't know if Mike is going to be watching this video, but this rhubarb comes from a plant that belonged to Mike's grandmother. And he brought me a cutting a long time ago. And it has, we've taken and divided our rhubarb plant, and so we've got several plants, and they give us a lot of rhubarb. I used a whole bunch of rhubarb and made a strawberry rhubarb jam. I still have plenty left over, and there's plenty out there still that I need to pick. So the best way to do this is to dehydrate. Then I can just rehydrate and bake it into pies or make more jam or do whatever it is that I want to do with it. So I'm going to show Jace here. What we do is you wash your stalks, take off the leaves. You cannot eat the leaves because they're poisonous. And you're going to take the stalks and you're going to cut them into 1-inch pieces. And I just use a scissors. So this is about 1 inch, Jace. See? Just like that. And that's all you do. You just cut it.
Well, it's going to go all over the place.
Well, kind of. It's going to go all over the place, but you can pick it up like this. Okay. And then it goes in this colander here. Because before, a little bit bigger. A little bit, there you go. Okay. So, can you do it? I think you're strong enough. If you get it back on the back part of the scissors a little better, it'll cut better. There you go. So, when you're cutting, put it not on the tip of the scissors, but more back here, okay? And you can actually try to put it right in there when you're cutting. So there you go, honey. No, you hold it. You hold it. Why are you, okay, you might want to use your left hand. You're not right-handed. Hold this in your right hand. There you go. Hold the scissors in your left. So before you dehydrate vegetables, you usually have to blanch them first. That's good. Maybe the next one will be a little bigger, but put it farther back on the scissors. It's too close to the tip. That makes it hard to cut, honey. Open the scissors wide. Open the scissors wide up. Put it way back there. Way back. There. See how much easier that was?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just be careful of your fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blanch the rhubarb before I put it on the dehydrator trays, all the way back on the scissors. There you go. You can do it. There you go. And you're now usually when you blanch, you put the vegetables in the water and wait for the water to come back to a boil, and then you time it. You cannot do that with rhubarb. You'll end up with mush. It really cooks very quickly. So what I do is I just get my water to a boil, and then I will put this colander in the boiling water and time it for just 1 minute. I'll start timing right away. I don't wait for it to come to a boil. And then you put it under cold water real quick to get it to stop cooking. And then I lay it out on the trays and dehydrate it. I have a pot boiling on the stove, and I'm ready now to blanch my rhubarb. But before I show you that, do me a favor. Click the subscribe button below, and while you're doing that, hit the little bell, because that bell is going to alert you next time I put a video up. You don't want to miss it. Okay, I've got a pot of boiling water here. I'm going to blanch my rhubarb. And I've cut my rhubarb, so there we go. That's quite a large batch, actually. So I've got boiling water here, and I brought it to a really good boil. But because rhubarb is sort of delicate, I'm going to put it in the boiling water and just time it for a minute immediately. I'm not going to wait for it to come back to another boil. I'm going to put the lid on it so the top part gets... So I want the top layer to get hot. Basically, the top layer is going to get steamed because it's not really covered with water. I've got my eye on a pan, a special pan for blanching. And I think I'm going to order it for times like these. So I'm going to let this go for a minute, and then immediately I'm going to take it out of the boiling water, even though it's not really boiling now anymore, but it's hot. And I've really had to experiment a lot, and I've had some failures where I just couldn't dehydrate the the rhubarb. Actually, I had a massive failure because it was a large batch. So I added sugar to it and made a mush and served it on top of ice cream, and that was good too, but I really wanted to preserve for later. So we're coming in right now. There we go. That is 1 minute of very hot water, and you can see the color of the rhubarb has already changed. And I'm going to get this over to the sink immediately. I'm going to run cold water all over this rhubarb to get it to stop cooking. And this rhubarb is already soft. We got to get that heat out immediately. Ideally, I would have a pan filled with cold water to dip this in, but I don't have a pan like that the strainer will fit in, except for the one that I was using with the hot water. I have cooled off this rhubarb, and I'm going to use 2 trays, I think, for this amount. And all I do is just dump. And then spread them out. There's one. I'll try the other one. See how even that is. I might have to put some more on that other one, we'll see. Okay, that's all of it. Now, when this dehydrates, these pieces are going to shrink a lot, which is going to create even more space between them. So you don't have to leave a whole lot of space. You just have to make sure they're on one layer. That's all. And these dehydrator trays are for a Excalibur. So they're 12 inches by 12 inches. I have a 9 tray machine, Excalibur machine, without a timer. If you're thinking about buying an Excalibur, don't waste your money getting a timer. Because when you're dehydrating, and I've been dehydrating for years, you can never tell how long something is going to take. There are so many variables. It depends on how much water is in your food. It depends on how hot it is outside. The humidity in your air affects it. Everything affects it. So I never understood why anybody would want to set a timer on their tray and then expect that it's going to be finished when the timer goes off. Don't waste your money. They charge a lot of extra money for the timer. You don't need it. It will actually kind of ruin things for you. Because you'll think something is supposed to be ready, there is no supposed to be time with dehydrating. The food will tell you when it's ready. And so the book says to dehydrate 10 to 12 hours. My experience here in Northwest Indiana, and it is humid out. Now my house is air conditioned, but my garage is not, and my Excalibur is out in my garage. So my experience tells me, what time is it? It's almost 12:30 in the afternoon. So it's just past noon. I'm going to put these in and they're going to dehydrate until I wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, they should be done. And don't worry about that, because when something is dry, it's dry. It can't get any drier. So if it finishes during the night while I'm sleeping, it's not a problem, because once it's dry, it's dry. It's not going to get any drier. You know, if it could, it's not a bad thing. You want it dry. You want it very dry. You want it so dry that they're hard pieces. They're going to be hard. Very hard, actually. And they'll be very small. And as you can see, this rhubarb is not, there's different varieties of rhubarb. And some varieties are beautiful. They're so red. This is not the red variety. I have, you know, a few of the stalks have a little bit of red at the bottom of the stalk, and you can kind of see where those pieces are. But for the most part, my stalks are green. That doesn't affect the flavor at all. Okay, here are my rhubarb on 2 trays in my Excalibur. It's a 9 tray, but I've only got 2 trays. No need to have the other trays in there. And then what you do is you just put the front on, and that's it. And at the top, I had the temperature set at 125 degrees. So you don't want to turn it up too high. That's the 9 tray Excalibur. But while I'm back here, how about if I show you some of my jars? Here is my food storage in the garage. And everything on the top shelf is dried. Everything else is canned. But the top shelf here, everything is dried. Okay, I found this dried rhubarb in my garage. And I want to show you what it looks like when it's fully dehydrated, which won't be until tomorrow, the ones that are on my trays. So I like this jar opener because it doesn't bend my lids. As you can see, there's no air in there. You hear that? That's how hard these are. So you should dehydrate these rhubarb until they're hard and they make a sound like this. See? Right here, this little cool little gadget. It goes on top. And there we go. So now this is, there's no air in this jar. That just took the air out. Okay, that is the process of dehydrating rhubarb. It's not hard. It hardly takes any time, actually. And now the rhubarb that I process will be good for years. Please hit the subscribe button below. And while you're doing it, click that little bell, because that bell's going to give you an alert the next time I put a video up. We don't want you to miss anything. I'll see you next time.